Chapter 1, Control Yourself or Be. You wake up every morning in a battlefield, not outside, but inside your own head. Before you even open your eyes, the war begins. A part of you wants comfort. The other part wants control. Which one wins? The one you feed first. 0 That's the truth no one wants to hear. You're not fighting the world, you're fighting yourself. Every decision, every delay, every distraction, it's all a test of command. And here's the rule: you either run your mind, or your mind runs you. There is no middle ground. Discipline begins where emotion ends. That's the line. That's the separation between those who build empires and those who break under pressure. You can feel everything: frustration, doubt, fear, but once you let those feelings decide your actions, you've lost the battle. Because emotion is a signal, not a command. Listen closely. Your mind has two voices. One is loud, impulsive, dramatic. It screams for comfort, attention, validation. The other is quiet, grounded, cold. It speaks in commands, not emotions. That quiet voice is discipline. The question is, who are you listening to? Most people live as slaves to the first voice. They let feelings decide their mornings. They let moods dictate their effort. They wait for motivation to appear, like a miracle. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline acts. You have a choice. Every time you delay, you train your brain to obey weakness. Every time you push through, you train it to obey strength. You're programming yourself, one small decision at a time. That's the key. Self-control isn't built in big moments, it's forged in the hundreds of silent ones no one sees. Think of the soldier in chaos. Heart pounding. Adrenaline flooding. Everything in him screams, run. But he moves anyway. That's not emotion. That's training. That's control. He doesn't wait to feel ready. He commands himself to act. That's how you win. Not with emotion. With order. With systems. When your feelings and your purpose collide, discipline decides who wins. It's not about motivation. It's about command. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Command says, do it anyway. And that's the voice you must build. Every time you act from emotion, you surrender power. Every time you act from command, you take it back. And that's what mastery looks like, the quiet ability to say, I hear the noise, but I move anyway. Let's make this real. You wake up and don't feel like getting up. Emotion says, 5 more minutes. Discipline says, get up now. You skip that workout. Emotion says, it's fine, I deserve rest. Discipline says, earn your rest. You avoid a hard conversation. Emotion says, it's uncomfortable. Discipline says, handle it. You see? The fight is constant. Every single time you pick comfort, you weaken the command center of your mind. And every time you obey discipline, you strengthen it. One choice rewires your brain for weakness, the other for power. And no one can make that choice for you. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You just need to decide, right now, that from this moment on, you run your mind. Because the truth is brutal but simple, the world is built to break the undisciplined. Everything around you is designed to pull your attention, drain your focus, make you react. The world profits off your distraction. The system depends on your lack of control. You scroll because they need you weak. You react because they need you emotional. You buy because they need you impulsive. And the only way to win is to master yourself. That's the battlefield. And that's why most people never rise. They never realize they're fighting the wrong enemy. The real war isn't against society. It's against your own lack of control. You have to learn to pause before you react. To breathe before you speak. To think before you decide. Because every reaction you don't control becomes a habit. And habits shape destiny. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about how talented you are. It's about how much control you have over your impulses. That's the measure of real power. When someone insults you, do you react or remain still? When fear shows up, do you freeze or move anyway? When comfort calls, do you answer or ignore it? That's how you know who's in charge, your emotions or your discipline. You have a choice. You always do. And every time you choose control, you build a muscle most people don't even know exists. That's mental strength, not reacting, not complaining, not explaining. Just executing. Quietly. Consistently. The world will test you daily. People will push your buttons. Situations will pull your emotions. And your job, your only job, is to stay in control. Not cold. Not numb. But directed. You feel everything, but you decide what leads. That's real discipline. Remember this, the mind doesn't like control at first. It rebels. It resists. It wants the easy path. But like a muscle, resistance is how it grows. Every no to comfort is a yes to mastery. Every time you override emotion, you build power. And that power compounds until one day, emotion obeys you. That's the secret no one tells you. The disciplined don't feel less, they just react less. They've trained their emotions to serve their mission. They've reprogrammed their mind to obey. You can do the same. So the next time your feelings scream louder than your goals, remember this line. Discipline begins where emotion ends. It's not about how you feel. It's about what you decide to do anyway. You are not your thoughts. You are not your moods. You are the one who commands them. You're the architect of your mind, and the world bends to the mind that cannot be shaken. Take control back. Build systems that protect your focus. Set rules that eliminate choice fatigue. Wake up early, not to prove something, but to program power. Keep promises to yourself, because trust in self is the foundation of mastery. That's how you rise. Not through motivation. Through mental structure. Not through hype. Through command. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to move. Because once you move, clarity appears. Once you act, emotion follows discipline. That's how control is built, one decisive moment at a time. And from now on, that's how you operate. You run your mind. You control your actions. You command your direction. No more reacting. No more drifting. Only control. Only movement. Only strength. That's the beginning of mastery. That's the foundation of the discipline blueprint. You've taken control. Now, let's go deeper. You've learned to command your emotions. Now it's time to destroy the one thing that weakens every disciplined mind, negotiation. You mastered your reactions. Now let's master your decisions. Chapter 2: Stop negotiating with your feelings. Chapter 2: Stop negotiating with your feelings. You know what kills more dreams than failure? Negotiation. That quiet, sneaky conversation in your head that says, maybe later. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe when I feel ready. That's the voice of weakness, disguised as reason. And if you keep listening, it will run your entire life. You can't negotiate with your feelings. You have to command them. Because the moment you start asking how you feel, you've already lost. Feelings are temporary. Discipline is permanent. And every time you let emotion vote on your decisions, you trade long-term power for short-term comfort. You know it's true. You felt it, that moment when you said, I'll start tomorrow, knowing full well tomorrow never comes. That's the trap. That's how average people stay average forever. The disciplined ones don't ask if they feel like it. They just move. They don't consult their mood. They consult their mission. That's the key. Listen carefully. Every time you hit snooze, you're not resting, you're training your brain that excuses are acceptable. Every skipped rep, every delayed task, every avoided challenge teaches your mind to choose weakness. And weakness grows quietly. It grows until one day, your dreams feel impossible, not because they are, but because you've taught yourself to avoid discomfort. You have a choice. Stop arguing with your emotions. Stop asking how you feel. Stop trying to negotiate with the part of you that hates effort. That voice in your head that says, not now, is not your friend. It's not logic. It's fear pretending to protect you. It's the lazy version of you, the one that wants to stay small. And you've listened to it long enough. You don't need more motivation. You need more command. You need to train your brain to act first, think later. Because every great achievement in history began with someone doing something before they felt ready. You won't always feel like training. You won't always feel like working. You won't always feel like showing up. That's normal. But that's also irrelevant. Discipline doesn't care about your feelings. And the more you practice ignoring them, the stronger you become. Think about the athlete who runs in the rain. The student who studies while tired. The entrepreneur who works when no one's watching. They don't do it because it feels good. They do it because not doing it costs them more. That's how warriors think. They see comfort as the enemy. They understand that easy now means hard later. And they live by one law: do it anyway. Repeat that. Do it anyway. You don't wait for motivation. You create motion. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You move and make it perfect. You don't wait for the mood. You build the momentum. That's how you take power back. Here's what most people don't realize. Every time you obey your feelings, you shrink your capacity. You teach your brain that it's okay to disobey your own goals. You make weakness a habit. And habits become identity. But the moment you start doing what you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it, something shifts. Your self-respect returns. Your confidence grows. Your mind begins to trust your commands again. That's how discipline is born, through repeated, emotionless execution. You have to rewire your brain to obey the plan, not the feeling. Wake up. Execute. Work out. Execute. Study. Execute. Show up. Execute. No debate. No discussion. No delay. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about freeing yourself from the chaos of mood swings and indecision. Because the person who lives by feeling will always be a prisoner of circumstance. But the one who lives by principle? Unstoppable. You don't need their permission. You don't need their understanding. You just need consistency, repeated obedience to your higher self. The truth is, your emotions are just weather. They pass. They change. But your decisions, those are climate. They define the long-term condition of your life. Stop letting storms decide your direction. When you build the habit of command, you start feeling differently too. You stop chasing motivation because discipline becomes automatic. You stop craving balance because structure brings peace. You stop fearing hard days because you've trained for them. That's the transformation. That's when discipline becomes identity, not effort. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Your brain will resist it. It will say things like, "You're tired. You've done enough. You deserve a break." That's your old self begging for survival. But your new self, the one you're building right now, it doesn't care. It moves anyway. Because that's the code. No more negotiation. No more excuses. Just movement. You can't wait to feel ready. You can't wait to feel inspired. You can't wait to feel calm, confident, or certain. You must act your way into those feelings. Do you understand? Action creates emotion, not the other way around. You don't wait for discipline. You build it through movement. The people you admire most, the calm, the focused, the powerful, they all have one thing in common. They act through emotion, not because of it. They've trained themselves to stop listening to moods. Their identity is built on what they do, not what they feel. That's the standard. That's the difference between dreamers and doers. Between talkers and builders. Between the emotional and the disciplined. You're not here to live by mood. You're here to live by mission. And missions don't wait for comfort. When you stop negotiating with your feelings, everything in your life becomes simpler. Decisions become faster. Habits become automatic. Momentum becomes natural. Because your energy isn't wasted on internal debates anymore. You wake up. You move. You execute. And every time you do that, you earn another layer of mental armor. So the next time your mind says, "Not now," say this out loud. Now is the only time. Because it is. Tomorrow is a myth. Later is a lie. Only now exists. And now is where discipline lives. Remember this truth. Emotion screams for comfort. Discipline whispers, "Do it anyway." Follow the whisper. Always. You don't need to feel powerful to act powerfully. You just need to stop giving emotions a vote. Because once you stop negotiating with your feelings, your life becomes negotiation-proof. That's how you reclaim control. That's how you build momentum. That's how you create freedom, not by doing what you feel, but by doing what you've decided. No negotiation. No emotion. Only execution. That's command. That's control. That's discipline. You've silenced the emotional noise. You've reclaimed your power to act. Now it's time to confront the hidden enemy that keeps most people weak, the addiction to comfort. You've stopped negotiating. Now let's destroy the need for easy. Chapter 3, Comfort is the Enemy. Chapter 3, Comfort is the Enemy. Comfort is the slowest poison in the world. It doesn't kill you all at once. It numbs you first. It whispers, "You've done enough." It convinces you to relax. And before you know it, your edge is gone, your hunger is gone, your power is gone. You think you're resting. But you're rotting. You think you're safe. But you're stuck. You think you're happy. But you're hollow. That's the truth most people never face. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. It feels good. But it costs everything. You don't lose discipline in chaos. you lose it in comfort. Pressure doesn't break you, comfort does. Because pressure strengthens you. Comfort softens you. And every time you choose comfort over challenge, you weaken the muscle that keeps you alive, your drive. You have a choice. You can build a life that protects your comfort. Or you can build a life that protects your growth. But you can't have both. Listen carefully. Everything powerful you've ever admired, every champion, every innovator, every leader, was built in discomfort. Not by avoiding pain, but by walking straight into it. Because pain is not punishment. Pain is proof that you're expanding. That's the secret. Growth and comfort can't coexist. One must die for the other to live. You want to know why your motivation fades? Because you stopped challenging yourself. You built routines that became cages. You let comfort convince you that normal was enough. But the truth is simple, nothing grows in safety. Think about the gym. You lift the same weight every day, you stay the same. You push heavier, your muscles tear, and then they rebuild stronger. Life works exactly the same way. The discomfort you avoid is the strength you never build. The challenge you delay is the growth you deny. The pain you run from is the version of you that never appears. You say you want to evolve, but you also want it to be easy. That's the conflict that destroys progress. You can't have transformation and comfort in the same room. You have to choose. Comfort says, stay here. Discipline says, go further. Comfort says, you've earned a break. Discipline says, you've earned the right to go again. Comfort says, no one's watching. Discipline says, that's exactly why it matters. You don't need their permission. You don't need applause. You just need the courage to stay uncomfortable, consistently. Because discomfort is not the enemy. It's the test. It's the gateway to every new level of your life. Ask yourself, when was the last time you chose something hard? When was the last time you intentionally made yourself uncomfortable? Not by accident. By decision. Because that's where strength is built, not in surviving discomfort, but in seeking it. Wake up earlier than you want. Train harder than you need. Read longer than you planned. Speak truth when silence is easier. That's how you grow. Every act of discomfort rewires your brain for dominance. It teaches you that you can survive the storm, and even thrive in it. It makes fear smaller. It makes you stronger. That's the formula. Most people avoid discomfort and call it balance. But let's be real, what they call balance is usually avoidance. Balance is earned through endurance, not avoidance. Peace comes after power, not before it. You can't meditate your way out of weakness. You can't manifest discipline. You have to earn it through friction, resistance, and repetition. And that means walking toward what scares you, not away from it. You have to become addicted to the challenge. You have to crave the grind. You have to see struggle as proof that you're on the right path. Because comfort will lie to you. It will whisper that you're safe, that you're okay, that you've done enough. But deep down, you'll feel the truth, that voice of guilt, of hunger, of potential, the one that says, you're capable of more. That voice is discipline. And you can't hear it clearly until you silence the voice of comfort. Here's a fact. Comfort never leads to excellence. Ever. Show me one legend built in comfort. You can't. Because greatness is forged in resistance. The boxer becomes elite in rounds 11 and 12. The writer finds truth in the late-night drafts no one reads. The entrepreneur earns freedom in the sleepless, uncertain years. The disciplined build strength in discomfort, not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. You have a choice. You can chase comfort and live average. Or you can chase discomfort and live free. Stop calling the easy path self-care. Start calling it what it is, self-sabotage. Self-care isn't avoiding pain. It's managing it. It's knowing when to rest strategically, not endlessly. There's a difference between recovery and retreat. Discipline requires both, hard work and honest rest. But comfort wants only one, escape. And every time you escape discomfort, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle it. But you can. You can handle more than you think. You can push further than you believe. You can endure longer than you expect. That's the truth, you just haven't demanded it from yourself yet. So here's your challenge. Every day, do one thing that makes you uncomfortable. Cold shower. Hard workout. Difficult conversation. Unwanted task. Anything that teaches your mind, we move even when it's hard. Because discomfort is the gym for the mind. And if you want to build strength, you have to lift the weight of resistance, daily. The next time you catch yourself saying, I don't feel like it. Remember. Comfort is not relief, it's regression. It's the path to mediocrity disguised as safety. And you are not here to be safe. You are here to be strong. You don't grow when life is easy. You grow when life gets hard, and you decide to keep going anyway. So stop waiting for comfort. Stop chasing convenience. Stop protecting your limits. Walk into the discomfort. Breathe in the challenge. And remind yourself, this pain is not punishment, it's progress. Because the people who can sit with discomfort without breaking, those are the ones who own themselves. And the one who owns himself cannot be broken. That's the essence of discipline. That's the truth of control. You've rejected comfort. You've reclaimed your hunger. Now it's time to build what every great life stands on, the habit of relentless consistency. You've destroyed comfort. Now let's build the system that keeps you unbreakable. Chapter 4, The Discipline of Doing It Anyway. Chapter 4, The Discipline of Doing It Anyway. There will always be a reason not to do it. Always. You'll wake up tired. You'll be busy. You'll be unmotivated. You'll tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes, because tomorrow is a comfort disguise. Discipline begins where motivation dies. That's the truth most people never learn. Anyone can act when they feel like it. But the disciplined act because they said they would. Even when it's hard. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's the last thing they want to do. That's what makes them different. That's what makes them unstoppable. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is decision. Motivation fades. Decision endures. You can't wait to feel ready, because readiness is a myth. No one feels ready to change their life. You start, and then you feel ready. You move, and then you gain clarity. You act, and then you build confidence. Everything starts with one rule. Do it anyway. Tired? Do it anyway. Afraid? Do it anyway. Doubtful? Do it anyway. Uncertain? Do it anyway. That's not recklessness, that's mastery. Because discipline is not about feeling powerful, it's about acting powerfully even when you don't. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a consistent one. You don't need endless motivation. You need the will to move when the fire fades. Here's the truth. Most people fail not because they're weak, but because they stop. They confuse discomfort with defeat. They confuse delay with failure. They confuse fatigue with finality. But the disciplined? They keep going. Not because it's easy, but because stopping isn't an option anymore. You must reach that level, where action is no longer negotiable. Where doing it anyway becomes your default mode. Where you don't wait for the right mood, because you've built the right mind. You wake up tired, you move. You feel doubt, you move. You fail, you still move. Because consistency doesn't ask for emotion, it demands execution. That's how winners are built. Not by bursts of effort, but by relentless follow-through. Remember this. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares what you do. Feelings are clouds, they shift, they vanish, they return. But your actions? They carve the sky itself. They define your reality. If you act only when you feel like it, your life will always be ruled by your moods. But if you act despite your moods, your life will be ruled by your mission. That's the shift. That's how ordinary becomes unstoppable. You have to rewire your brain to stop negotiating with laziness. Every time your mind says, "Not today," respond, "That's exactly why today matters." Because resistance is not a stop sign, it's an invitation. An invitation to prove you're stronger than your excuses. You want self-respect? Keep promises to yourself when no one's watching. Do what you said you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it. That's how confidence is born. Not from success. from self-trust.